Hi guys, today we're going to look at homeschooling, at 7 pros and cons, and whether you should homeschool your child or not. Today I'm also accompanied by Coco, our dog, and hopefully he's not going to be snoring too much. Now, hands up, who had to homeschool their kids during the 2020 COVID pandemic? And how many of you continue to homeschool your kids afterwards? Once the new school year started, we had to send our kids back to school due to homeschooling being restricted and a bit of a gray area in Spain where we live. But you know what? My wife and I were really surprised by how much we missed it. Although another part of me was really relieved to get back to normal. I'm sure that, like us, there were many things that you also learned about yourself and your kids during this time, and maybe you're considering a return to homeschooling. So let's look at some of the pros and cons of homeschooling so that you can decide whether it's a good option for your family or not. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to FamiSafe channel to get to see more content like this. And don't forget to press the bell button. Without that, YouTube is not actually going to notify you of any new content. Now let's have a look at some of the pros and cons. Homeschoolers tend to do better on standardized tests. Several studies have shown that homeschool kids have resulted in the 80th percentile compared to their public school peers who are in the 50th percentile in standardized tests. That's a huge difference. What's behind this massive difference? Well, it could be a combination of factors, but I'd say that homeschoolers probably get better grades just because of the extra personalized attention they get compared to traditionally schooled kids. Loss of income. For many people, homeschooling is not an option because of work commitments. It could mean that you will have to take a cut in income to focus on your kids. The simple fact is that for many people, I would say most people, this is simply not feasible. Add to that the cost of homeschooling, which can cost around $1,000 per child per year, and you could see a big difference in household income. More homeschooled kids graduate college. In the US, 66.7% of homeschool kids graduated college, which is 10% higher than their public school peers. Maybe most homeschool kids started taking an active approach to organizing their time earlier than their counterparts. This would surely give them an advantage when it comes to college and then the need to learn independently. For some kids, moving from school into college involves a level of self-discipline that they maybe didn't need or didn't develop in the public system. More limited social interactions. All children need to socialize with others. It's a key part of their development after all. And no amount of field trips to the science museum is going to make up for it. So you'll need to take your kids to extracurricular activities so they get a chance to form bonds and friendships with other people. But the cost of those can really add up. So you have to take that into account. And remember, it doesn't have to just be sports related. This year, my 2 boys are doing after school classes in judo, street dancing, and robotics. In countries where homeschooling is popular, like the US, UK, Australia, and Canada, socializing your child isn't that hard because there are many groups set up specifically for the task of gathering groups of like-minded homeschoolers together. And many people would argue that homeschooled kids are very well socialized. But if you live in a country or a state where there's a very limited homeschooling community, then it could make it actually a lot more difficult. The other side of this is that many homeschooling parents are the ones that find they have actually trouble socializing themselves. Not that they can't, but that they have more limited opportunities. And if you made friends with other parents while your child was in school and then you choose to pull them out, to homeschool them, you may find that you feel a little left out when they all gather to go to after-school activities that you can't be part of anymore. Feeling lonely and isolated as a homeschooling parent is very common, and more common than you think. Bullying is practically non-existent. If your child is homeschooled, then obviously they won't have to deal with other kids their age all through the school day, and instead they'll be able to be with their parents, who are teachers, and their siblings. Interactions are more carefully monitored and issues are nipped in the bud, because we all know that siblings can argue too, but this is something that we deal with on a daily basis. And although if you do other activities with other children, the opportunity for sustained and consistent bullying just isn't there. Compare that to public school kids, where about 20% of them report being bullied. A similar number report being bullied online too. Now, one of the issues that we deal with here at FamiSafe is cyberbullying and how to help combat it using the FamiSafe app to monitor your child's phone and the kinds of interactions they're having. Because honestly, bullying and cyberbullying has become a big problem these days. But homeschooling will probably mean that your child will have fewer of these types of interactions and they'll hear about all the new social networking apps less than they would if they were in school. And some of those apps should not be available for teens or kids. And you know, kids feel left out if everybody else is using toys and games or apps that they are not allowed to. This peer pressure problem pretty much goes away with homeschooling, and it's non-existent. But what if your child already has a phone and then you take him out of the school system to be homeschooled, but they want to keep their phone in order to stay in touch with their school friends? Well, in that case, I would recommend that you get the FamiSafe app, because that way you can monitor not only their interactions online, but also the internet usage and the time spent on it. You will also be able to monitor it for explicit content via words or photos, and that way keep your child safe. I will leave the link in the description below so that you can check it out. Adjusting to a new reality. Changing to a homeschool environment isn't an easy task for parents and kids. Kids may create a fuss when it first starts and try to test the boundaries. After all, they won't be around their friends anymore and there will be no playing during lunch or recess. They may say that they hate it and they want to go back to school, and that can be hard for you to hear as a parent. You're doing your best, making sacrifices for your child, probably working harder than you have ever done before, but they just don't seem to appreciate it. Those frustrations can seep out and you'll have to make sure that you can control that and that you don't let them affect your relationship with your child. Although many people say that they forge a stronger relationship with their children through homeschooling, it can sometimes cause problems too. And that problem is mostly the parental anger and frustration. Don't kill me for saying this, but sometimes kids seem to be responding much better to the authority of the teacher than the parent. A teacher is trained in how to respond to kids. They go on multiple courses to stay educated on children's needs and have accountability. They don't want to lose their job. A teacher that responds to your child with anger would have to deal with those repercussions. But where are the repercussions for you as their parent? Easier to teach and learn. Many schools have many students in each class, which means the opportunity for some individualized and personalized care just doesn't exist. That just wouldn't. It's a sink or swim kind of scenario. And that's not the teacher's fault, but it does not mean that many children, especially those with additional needs, such as ADHD or dyslexia, it means that they can get left behind in the pursuit of the end goal of finishing the curriculum in time. Being able to teach according to your child's unique learning style will make sure that the right information gets in there and is retrained more easily. Plus, they don't have to put up with the disruptions from other students in a classroom. That means that not only is their learning more effective because it's tailored to them, but that material is also absorbed more quickly, which gives you both more free time. So there you have it. What do you think of these pros and cons that I have put forward? Do you think that the pros definitely outweigh the cons and that it's an opportunity to take an active role in your child's education? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you and to see what you have to say about this. As I said before, we don't have the option to homeschool over here, unfortunately, but 2020 taught us to be more proactive in our children's education. So we have decided that although we can't homeschool them, we'll take a more active role in other ways. And any parent out there can do it too. If you don't have the time, money, or let's be honest, the inclination, because teaching is not for everyone, you can still be proactive. Make sure you talk to your child every day about what they have been up to and not just reducing it to single sentences. We always ask our kids to tell us something fun that had happened that day, something interesting that they have learned, and other open questions to prize out those morsels of information. Keep in touch with the school other than through the parent-teacher evenings. Join up with the PTA or just volunteer every now and again. It can make a difference in getting to know the faces of people and staff in school, as well as parents, and maybe recognizing some other kids. And don't forget to get FamiSafe installed on your phone so that you can get your kids the extra layer of protection. I'll drop a link into the description below so that you can head to our website and check out all the great features that the app offers. All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Like it, subscribe to the channel, press the bell button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.